Welcome to Sounds of the Unknown, your portal to the eerie, the unexplained, and the downright terrifying. Today we dive into one of the strangest and most haunting cases in recent history. A story that blurs the lines between grief, obsession, and something far more sinister. This is the unsettling case of Olivia Mabel. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to Sounds of the Unknown and visit our website at www.soundsoftheunknown.com for more spine-tingling tales and paranormal deep dives. Now let's uncover the truth behind the legend. The story takes us to Salina, Texas, a quiet town in the heart of the Lone Star State. Known for its friendly community and serene landscapes, Salina was the perfect place for families to thrive. In 1994, the peaceful life of Olivia Mabel, a devoted mother and wife, was shattered when her 7-year-old son Aidan drowned in a tragic accident on their property. The incident occurred on a warm summer day, forever altering the course of Olivia's life. Aidan's death devastated Olivia, and her world seemingly stopped that day. She was consumed by grief, unable to find solace or comfort in anything. Neighbors described her as kind and loving, but after the accident, Olivia withdrew from the world. She stopped attending church, rarely left her house, and her once vibrant presence faded into a shadow of its former self, and eventually cut ties with friends and family. The once warm and welcoming home became a place of sorrow and isolation. Her husband James eventually moved out, unable to cope with their fractured lives. The weight of their loss was too much to bear, and their marriage crumbled under the strain. Then Olivia vanished. For years her home remained eerily silent. The once lively household was now a ghostly reminder of the past. Bills were paid automatically, but no one saw or heard from Olivia. The community was left to wonder about her fate, as her house stood as a silent witness to her disappearance. It wasn't until February 27, 1999, that local police were called to her property after receiving reports of an abandoned house. The neighbors had grown concerned, noticing the house's neglected state. What they found inside would haunt them forever. The discovery was beyond anything they could have imagined, leaving a lasting impact on everyone involved. When officers entered Olivia's home, they were immediately struck by the overwhelming sense of unease. The air was thick with an unsettling silence, as if the house itself was holding its breath. The house was silent, filled with dust and cobwebs, as though no one had lived there for years. Every step they took echoed through the empty halls, amplifying the eerie atmosphere. But in Aidan's old bedroom, the air was different. It felt heavy, almost as if the room itself was mourning. There, they found Olivia Mabel. The sight was haunting. She was sitting in a rocking chair, her body in an advanced state of decomposition, holding a crude doll made of fabric and sticks. The doll seemed to be a significant part of whatever ritual she had been performing. The doll, eerily resembling her late son, was placed in front of a makeshift altar. The altar itself was a disturbing sight. The altar was covered in photographs of Aidan, handwritten notes, and items from his childhood, his favorite toys, a pair of shoes, a lock of his hair. It was as if Olivia had been trying to preserve every memory of her son. One note stood out, written in Olivia's handwriting. It read, "My Aidan, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I will bring you back if it's the last thing I do." The desperation in her words was palpable. But here's where things get even stranger. The mystery deepened with every new piece of evidence. The coroner determined that Olivia had been dead for several months. This revelation only added to the confusion. Yet neighbors swore they had seen lights on in the house and even spotted Olivia moving past the windows only days before her body was discovered. The sightings were frequent enough to make them believe she was still alive. One neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, recounted seeing Olivia in the garden, tending to her flowers just a week before the police arrived. She described Olivia as looking pale but very much alive. The garden itself was overgrown, wild and untamed, adding to the eerie feeling that something was terribly wrong. The officers were baffled. How could Olivia have been seen alive when she'd been dead for months? The case left them with more questions than answers. As night fell, the house seemed to come alive with whispers and shadows, leaving everyone to wonder if Olivia's spirit was still lingering, trying to fulfill her last desperate promise. Investigators couldn't explain what they found next. The scene was unlike anything they had ever encountered before, filled with an eerie sense of dread that seemed to permeate the very air around them. Symbols drawn in chalk surrounded the altar, resembling sigils used in occult rituals. These symbols were intricate and detailed, suggesting a deep knowledge of the occult. They were not just random drawings, but carefully crafted symbols with a specific purpose. Experts suggested Olivia may have been attempting to communicate with Aidan, or worse, trying to bring him back. Her grief was palpable, and it seemed to drive her to desperate measures. The loss of her child had pushed her to the brink, leading her to explore dark and forbidden practices. The doll in her arms was examined and found to contain a mix of materials, including Aidan's belongings and what appeared to be strands of Olivia's own hair. This discovery added a chilling layer to the mystery, as it indicated a personal and emotional connection to the ritual. Paranormal researchers who studied the case theorized that Olivia had accidentally created a tulpa, a thought form or entity, brought to life through sheer willpower and emotion. This theory suggested that her intense emotions had manifested into something tangible, something that could interact with the physical world. Could Olivia's overwhelming grief have summoned something unnatural? Her sorrow was so profound that it seemed to transcend the natural world, potentially opening a gateway to the unknown. Several officers who visited the house reported feeling watched. The sensation was unnerving, as if unseen eyes were constantly observing their every move. One described hearing faint whispers, while another claimed to see shadows moving in the corner of his eye. These experiences were not isolated incidents, but were reported by multiple officers, adding credibility to the claims of supernatural activity. The home, they said, felt alive, like it was holding its breath. Every creak and groan of the old house seemed to carry a hidden meaning, as if the building itself was a living entity, aware of the intruders within its walls. The case of Olivia Mabel raises more questions than answers. Was she simply a grieving mother who lost herself to despair? Or was there something darker at play? Some believe Olivia was dabbling in black magic, her desperation leading her to rituals she didn't fully understand. Others suggest her grief may have opened a gateway to the paranormal, inviting something into her home. Skeptics argue that the story is nothing more than a local legend, exaggerated over time. But the police reports and photographs from the scene tell a different story, one too detailed to dismiss as pure fiction. Today, the house in Salina remains abandoned, its windows boarded up and its doors locked tight. Locals avoid the property, claiming it's cursed and haunted. Paranormal investigators who have visited report strange phenomena, cold spots, unexplained noises and feelings of dread. Olivia's case serves as a chilling reminder of how grief can consume us, and how sometimes our emotions can manifest in ways we can't control or understand. So what do you think? Was Olivia Mabel a victim of her own sorrow, or did she unwittingly unleash something sinister? Could her devotion to her son have crossed into the supernatural, or is this just a cautionary tale about the dangers of obsession? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you've enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to Sounds of the Unknown. For more stories like this, visit www.soundsoftheunknown.com, where the unexplained becomes unforgettable. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and remember, sometimes the greatest mysteries are the ones we create ourselves.